Okay, so today we're diving into some interesting stuff. You guys sent in some intense material about this whole spiritual ascension thing, a changing Earth, and, well, chosen ones.
And what's wild is this isn't just like some fringe thing anymore. It's everywhere. This whole idea of humanity going through a major like spiritual shift, it's mixing old prophecies with like new age beliefs.
Right. And you know me, gotta explore the unknown. But before we get too far down that rabbit hole, let's back up. What's the source actually saying?
So the main idea seems to be we're like on the verge of this huge spiritual, well, shift. But not the, fire and brimstone biblical kind of thing. More like a massive leap in what they call vibrational frequency, like a boost in human consciousness.
Vibrational frequency. Okay, for those of us who aren't fluent in a new age, what are we talking about here?
Basically, it's the idea that everything like vibrates with a certain energy, from like tiny atoms to, even our thoughts and feelings. They all have a unique frequency. And this source believes that by like raising our vibration, we can reach this higher state of consciousness, maybe even like influence reality itself.
So we're all just like tuning forks trying to hit the right note.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And it ties into all these other spiritual ideas, right? Energy healing, chakras, even the whole thoughts become reality thing. It's wild how these concepts, even though we associate them with New Age stuff, they actually have roots in ancient traditions all over the world. Like think about qi in Chinese medicine, or prana in Hinduism. Different cultures have been describing these like unseen forces for centuries.
So we're tapping into something that's been around for a while then.
Exactly. And this source is basically like taking all these threads, energy healing, ascension, even this idea of spiritual warfare, to explain what they see happening in the world right now.
And they're not talking about some far-off future event, right? This source gets pretty specific. They mention things like time speeding up, weird physical sensations, even changes in the Earth's electromagnetic field, like the Schumann resonance, all signs of this supposed shift happening now.
And that's where things get really interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because they basically offer this like checklist of experiences you might be having if you're part of this shift. Sudden anxieties, really vivid dreams, even feeling like your sense of time is messed up. Almost like a roadmap for a spiritual awakening, I guess.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give us some examples. What kind of signs are we talking about here?
Well, they talk about like weird aches and pains, especially around your head and spine. They say it's like your light body activating or something. And intense emotions, feeling ungrounded, even those super vivid dreams, almost psychedelic, Those are all signs you're like vibrating higher.
Okay, well, I've definitely had a few of those lately, but I usually blame it on too much coffee, and doom scrolling before bed.
Right.
But I can see how if you believe this whole spiritual shift thing is real, you might interpret those everyday things totally differently.
Totally. It's all about context, right? And this source is giving you a very specific one. They're saying these experiences aren't random or meaningless. They're part of some bigger, like, cosmic plan.
Which is where the whole chosen ones thing comes in.
Yeah.
They seem to be saying not everyone's experiencing this shift in the same way.
Exactly. They talk about these chosen ones, sometimes using that number, 144,000, that whole biblical prophecy thing.
Right.
And they're like more tuned in to these higher frequencies meant to, guide everyone else through this crazy time.
So basically, if you're feeling these things, you're special, one of the chosen few. That's a pretty intense concept. I can see how that would be appealing to some people, especially like if you're feeling lost, disillusioned with the world, all that.
Oh, totally. It's super empowering. Imagine thinking you're not just another face in the crowd, but like a warrior of light here to bring in a new age. That sense of purpose, belonging, it's powerful, especially when the world feels so chaotic and uncertain.
And this source really leans into that, right? They use phrases like, you are not alone on this journey, or the light of Christ is here, returning and entering your DNA. I mean, even if you're like the most skeptical person ever, there's a part of you that wants to believe that, wants to feel like part of something bigger.
For sure. And then when they talk about creating new timelines, new realities, how your perception shapes your reality, it just taps into that human desire for control. Like you have the power to change not just your life, but like the fate of humanity. That's huge, especially when so many people feel powerless in the world.
Okay, but we have to address the elephant in the room here. What about the potential downsides of buying into this? Because let's be real, there are always downsides. Yeah. There's a lot to think about there, like personal transformation, finding a higher purpose. That's all appealing. But like you said, what about the other side of that?
Well, one of the biggest downsides is like falling into that black and white thinking,
Mhm.
I'm on the right path, I'm one of the chosen ones. It's easy to just dismiss anyone who doesn't agree with you. Even close friends, family, that us versus them thing can get really messy.
And this source kind of hints at that, right? Talking about people who just aren't ready for this shift, stuck
Yeah.
in lower vibrations or whatever.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
they're giving you permission to cut those people out of your life.
And that's the problem with any belief system that claims to have all the answers. You stop thinking critically, stop considering other explanations, even for things that have, like, perfectly logical scientific reasons.
So someone might think like, oh, I'm having a panic attack, my light body must be activating, when actually it could be, a real anxiety issue that needs professional help.
Exactly. Or they might see a scientific study that challenges their beliefs and just say, oh, that's just part of the conspiracy. It's important to keep a healthy sense of skepticism, even with spiritual stuff.
Skepticism, but also an open mind, right? Because we were talking about the power of belief. And the placebo effect shows us how powerful our minds can be. If you believe something strongly enough, it can actually cause real changes.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this whole thing so tricky. It's not about saying this is right, this is wrong. It's about understanding how beliefs work, the good and the bad that can come with them.
So, how do we walk that line? How do we explore new ideas, even the really out there ones, without, going off the deep end or losing touch with reality?
I think it's about finding that balance between faith and reason, asking the hard questions,
Hmm.
listening to different points of view, and being okay with not knowing everything. And maybe most importantly, approaching all this with curiosity and humility, knowing there's always more to learn.
That's a great point to wrap up on, I think. So, for our listener out there who might be feeling those weird vibes, questioning things, maybe even thinking, am I one of the chosen ones?
Mhm.
What's the one thing you want them to take away from all this?
Hmm. I would say don't be afraid to explore those feelings, but don't check your brain at the door either. Read different things, talk to different people, and most importantly, trust your gut. You know yourself best.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll leave you with those cosmic questions to ponder. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. And until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep those minds open.